And look who's back again. What's up, everybody? Welcome to your favorite sports and wrestling show in the universe. It's the Coach and Bro Show. I am one half of the team. I am the coach, and my partner, as always, from russosbrand.com is my main man, Vince Russo. And Vince, this is our Thursday episode, whenever people are listening to it. We got Thursday Night Football. We've got a ton of wrestling news to talk about. But first and foremost, hello to you, sir.
Hello, Coach. And listen, man, sporting Johnny U today, bro. What about that? What about that, Coach?
Wow.
Yeah.
You want to hear real quick I have a great Johnny Unitas story. You want to hear it?
Oh, yeah,
You want to hear it?
absolutely.
All right,
Yes.
all right. So early on in my career, I was only in local TV. You know, some people get fast tracked. It is what it is. You know what I'm taking, man. So I was in Kansas City. Our main sports anchor was Lenny Dawson.
Oh,
Lenny
yeah.
the Cool,
Yes.
Super Bowl IV, Super Bowl MVP.
Yes.
Right? One of my heroes. So I'm like 22 years old. I'm in Wichita for a heartbeat, and then I get this job in Kansas City, right? So I walk in, and he treated me like a grandson because Vince, what I tell you, Lenny Dawson, no computer on his desk, never checked his email, and he said, "Coach, do you know why they do all of that stuff for me?" I said, "I have no idea." He goes, "Because they came to me." And I was like, wow, you got to like that. When he was 40 years old, Channel 9 in Kansas City, they come. So now we're 24 years in. He was 64 at the time. He's doing a show called Inside the NFL, where
Right.
he would fly to New York Wednesdays and Thursdays during the football season. Well, back then, the Thursday night game, like tonight, was aired on the local ABC station because it was on ESPN. So instead of coming back, he was going to take the train. I was his babysitter. So they sent all of us out to Baltimore. It was Chiefs Ravens Thursday night. So I go, I pick him up, and we became very, very tight. So we're standing on the sidelines in Baltimore. And I'm standing there, and I felt like I was on top of the world. Man, I'm young. I'm standing next to Lenny Dawson. We goes wherever we want. All of a sudden, I get a little tap on my shoulder. And I turn around, it's Lenny. He goes, "Hey, Coach, can you come over here for a second? I would like you to meet a good friend of mine." And I
Wow.
turned,
Wow.
standing right there, number 19, Johnny U.
Oh, wow, Coach.
What
Wow.
would you have done?
Humna, 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 humna,
Yeah,
humna, humna. Yeah, the
right?
old, the old Ralph Cramden. Yes.
Amazing. And that's the
Wow.
world he lived in. They were great friends. They
Yeah.
played in the same era.
Yeah.
And I only
Wow.
met him one time, but that's how can you come over here for a second? I'd like you to meet a friend of mine. And that's how Lenny was, man. Lenny would come in, I kid you not. So, you know, the nightly news, 6 o'clock to 6:30. He'd roll in about 5:45. And I would write everything, edit everything. He had a putting machine. He would take the putting machine out of the little drawer. You know, the reporters are running around and they're trying to get ready for the 6 o'clock news. He's
Yeah.
putting as if he doesn't have a care in the world.
I
Vince, they
love it.
would
I
jump
love
over the golf ball that he was putting into
it.
one of those machines that spits it back to you, you
Love it,
know?
love it,
And
yeah.
you see on the news where like, let's go to the newsroom, man. Vince Russo standing by with the very latest. And then you got the whole newsroom behind the
Yeah,
person. He'd
yeah.
be behind them in the shot, just putting away.
Oh my
Didn't bother
god.
him a bit.
That
He
is
was the greatest.
that is cool, man. That is
Oh,
as cool gets.
it was.
Yeah,
And names were an afterthought to him. He
yeah,
didn't care. He'd been like Vince Russo, and he'd just go with it. He would
yeah.
just go with it, man. I love
That's
him. God
awesome.
rest his soul.
Yeah.
And the last part, I got my WWE job when I was in Kansas City. I walk into my news director's office and I said, "Hey, man, WWE, Kevin Dunn." Kevin Dunn said, "Hey, coach, you got a contract 2.5 years." I had no outs. So Kansas City did not have to let me go. And so I walk in, they're like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Pro wrestling? You're going to go do pro wrestling?" I said, "Yeah, it's a great opportunity." And they're going to let me work Mondays and Tuesdays. And then I'll work here Wednesday through Sunday. It was the greatest thing ever. He looked at me and goes, "Coach, you've got the world right in front of you. You're going to be our main anchor when Lenny leaves." Lenny was 64 at the time.
Yeah.
How long do you think Lenny worked until, Vince?
How long?
84
Oh,
years
oh
old.
my god,
I would
bro.
have been the weekend anchor for 20 years.
That's tremendous, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, I loved him so much. And then
Uh,
when the Royals went to the World Series in 15 and 16,
yeah.
who do you think the first call I made to get him on our shows for ESPN? And he
Lenny
was like,
Dawson.
"Coach," he said, "tell me where to be."
Oh, that's great, man.
He was
Yeah.
awesome, man. Oh God, I love those memories. That's why we love sports. That's
Yeah.
why we love football. And Vince, that's why you and I love doing this together so much. And tonight, it just so happens, where is Thursday Night Football? I tell you that entire story about meeting Johnny U. The game tonight's in Baltimore.
In Baltimore,
That's
yes.
exactly right. And the last
Yes.
time these two teams met, it was 41-38. And you can break down the game all you want, but Cincinnati, they, to me, made a huge bungle. They get the ball back. They stopped them on fourth down. And all they had to do was, I mean, they were already in field goal range. 3 up the gut, and they settled for a 53-yard field goal. They missed it. Ravens make a field goal. Game over. They could be 4-5 right now. That was a giant mistake. You can't play for a 53-yard field goal. But how that game went, how does that affect your handicapping for tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what really affects my handicapping for tonight as far as the Cincinnati Bengals are concerned. We all know
Oh, no.
the Malloy. Coach, there's always one team, just one team gets I don't spread the Maloik around. You can't be selfish with the Maloik. And because of my friend and your dear friend, Sean Sapp, the Bengals get the Maloik, which is bad news for them. Also, though, Coach, let's get to my research. I know the Bengals are dealing with a lot of injuries, so we got
Correct.
a lot of injuries on top of that. And again, I think I mentioned this to you on the other show. Bro, Ravens 21-3 prime time under Harbaugh. That's incredible, bro. 21-3, like that's incredible. I like the Ravens. The last line I got was 6. I am giving the 6 points. Ravens are going to win this game more than a touchdown.
I was kind of an idiot last week because the Ravens are the epitome of an NFL team. They lose to the Browns
Yep.
when I knew in my heart that they're a great team. And then they come back and I said, "Oh, the Broncos are 5-3,
Blew 'em
and they're
out.
your squad," and they win by 31.
Blew them out.
And I think that's who the Ravens really are.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson is one of those athletes that when he's focused and he's really his entire career, he's used his physicality, his athleticism,
Right.
instead of saying, you know what, let's buckle down. When he buckles down with Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, all the guys, they're amazing.
Yeah.
They're amazing. The problem is now they have no room for error because they have 3 losses already.
Yes.
The Chiefs, there's only one team with a bye. The Chiefs are at 8-0.
Yeah.
At 8-0. So the Ravens got to focus on their own division because the Steelers are 6-2 ahead of them.
Yes.
So I actually agree with you that the Ravens should cover tonight, but I think there's going to be a lot of points. And it's been around 53.5, 53. How do you like the total in this game? Did you look at it at all?
I looked at it a little bit, Coach, and I tried to stay away from it because again, I was reading the Bengals. There are a lot of injuries on both sides of the ball. I don't know if that's going to affect their offense at all, but I'm with you. With the Ravens, man, they are in a spot now. They got to produce. They're going to come out hot. I think they're going to put a lot of points up on the board. I just don't know if the Bengals are going to be able to stay in the game that way.
See, and that's exactly why I would lean Ravens or lean to the over, because when the Bengals are behind Burrow, hell, last week against the Raiders, they scored 41. Last time against the Ravens, they scored 38. That's when because he's playing so great. He's got 20 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
Because of the record, nobody's talking about Joe Burrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it really is a pretty good situation, I think, for the Ravens and the over. Game number 2. And who would have thought, or who would have known, when you look at the records in both divisions?
Crazy.
You've got the Steelers 6-2, and Washington is 7-2. But Vince, you know us. We never look at it just from the X's and O's.
No.
You always look at it from a fan perspective. No. And so I saw something the other day, and I want to run this by you, that I think is really, really, really important. So Steph Curry and Golden State, they were in town playing the Washington Wizards, okay? And I believe when greatness touches greatness, respects greatness, that can help somebody a lot. So at one point in the first half, who is sitting center court in those seats, always reserved for the biggest sports stars, always reserved for the biggest donors or most rich guys in the building? Jaden Daniels, quarterback of the Commanders, and he gets a standing ovation on a night when Steph Curry is in the house.
Wow.
And then after the game, signed jersey from Steph Curry, picture the whole 9 yards. They have found their franchise quarterback for the
Yes, they
next
have.
15 years.
Yes.
And I think going in, this is another really, really big spot to show everybody on a game that we should win and they should beat the Steelers. We get it done.
Coach, Steelers all coming off a bye week, though.
Yes.
Well rested.
Yes.
However, this is going to be Russell Wilson's first home game.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Which is going to be very interesting because, he's got a lot to prove, especially to that crowd. We know it's a tough crowd in Pittsburgh. Also, I'm looking at Steelers, bro. They've only allowed 119 points this year, Coach. I'm looking at the under. I'm looking at under 45.5.
I don't mind that. And I think you misspoke and you didn't mean to. It's his first away game. You
First,
said
yeah,
his first
that's
one.
what I
Yeah.
meant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's his first road game, which is a
Correct.
little different. He's had the crowd behind him, and they've
Yes.
clearly pumped him up in those wins. But yeah, this is going to be his first time on the road. Yeah.
And this will be his first game against a team not from New York.
Yeah.
They played the Jets. They won by 22. They played the Giants. They won by 18, but they scored 37 and 26. So I don't think Russell could have got out to a better start for the Steelers and for himself.
Yeah.
And by the way, apparently he's expecting baby number 4, if I read the IG release correctly with Sierra, his lovely wife.
Yeah.
But now I believe that Russell Wilson is at a point in his career. We know he's at the tail end. But Vince, if he can come out and play well and lead this team, I think ultimately, even though he's only got one Super Bowl, I think he's borderline a Hall of Famer. But I think he needs more to get there. Do you think so?
I do, Coach. Coach, it's so hard for me because the stench of Denver. Like I watched them here for a couple of years, and again, I know he's doing great over there at Pittsburgh, but I think the real Russell Wilson of the last couple of years is going to come home to roost. I think eventually we're going to see a game where there's a little bit more pressure. I think there could be.
I think so too. And quickly, as we look at their schedule at Washington, and then they got a big one next week against Baltimore in Pittsburgh. Then they go to Cleveland, to Cincinnati, then home against Cleveland. So those 3 should be winnable. And then they go to Philadelphia, hard, to Baltimore, hard, and then home to Kansas City and home to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That is a murderer's row if you're Pittsburgh.
It is.
I mean, I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's how bad I think this schedule is.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about this? I want to hear what you think about this game, Coach. What give me something. What do you think, Coach?
Which game? The Steelers Commanders or the next one?
Steelers
Commanders. I think Washington ultimately is going to win and cover. And I've got to look at the because my eyes are so bad that looking at the screen right now, the latest odds, I want to make sure that I get them right while we are. So right now it's at 2.5, and I want to get it at 2.5 before it gets to 3 because it moves all the time. That's according to ESPN Bet Total. So you like the under? It's already moved to 44.5. So you liked it at 45, right?
I liked it at 45.
45, yeah. In some books, it's already moving down, so they agree with you. I'm gonna go with Washington because they're playing at home and it's less than a field goal. And if you're out there and you have a book that has 3, buy it down to 2.5. It's worth it.
Yeah,
it's worth it. You pay an extra 20 cents, probably minus 130, maybe minus 135. But this could be a game where it's a field goal game. But I think Washington wins on the field here. Now, game number 3, and Vince, we have gotten miles and miles and miles out of the Chiefs. Kelsey, T. Swift, my boo baby, and there was a lot that happened in the last week. Some good, some not so good. All right, so they have a Monday game, and you and I mentioned it. T. Kelsey decided to fly to Indianapolis, and you and I have lived in the PJ world. We've ridden on a lot of private jets in our time. It's just kind of how we've rolled. So it's not that long, and we got crushed. Well, I got crushed for it.
Coach, I've never rode in a private jet in my life. Just for the record.
Are you kidding me right now?
Never rode. Bro, never rode first class.
Stop it.
Never.
You've never ridden first
I'm blue
class?
collar, man. I'm blue collar. I'm a
Yeah,
blue collar
through and
man,
through.
like Sticks would say. I'm a blue collar man. Yes.
I told people that when I started WWE in '99, that Vince was still flying commercial,
Yeah.
and it was so weird. You see
What?
him walking through LaGuardia. We'd all
Yeah.
be on the same flight,
Yep.
and he'd be walking through already in his suit and tie. And then right after that is when he got the first plane. And the first plane I rode on a million times. It was 4 bucket seats. It was 2 benches in the back, and you could comfortably sit 10, but then they always wanted to put 4 people on each bench. So you'd be somewhere over in Nebraska and you'd be like this, just trying to get from here to there.
Yeah.
And you couldn't sleep on the plane, Vince, unless Vince McMahon slept on the
Oh,
plane. So
absolutely.
you could never sleep on the plane.
Yeah.
It was everybody was
Absolutely.
like, man, it must have been great, coach. No, it
Ugh,
was not. My
terrible.
buddies are back in Little Rock, Arkansas somewhere partying it up on a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And I'm flying back to Connecticut at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, traveling with Vince was awful. Absolutely. Everybody thinks it's the great. Oh my gosh, it was awful. Awful.
It was so bad. It was so bad. He lived on his time. It was
Yeah.
the only time that I ever saw that he drank. He loved his red wine,
Yeah.
and that's where he would do it because he's up in the air and whew.
Coach,
And then when they
when he was commercial, like you said, I was not there when they got the private jet. It was all commercial.
wow.
Oh my God. He used to want to hold creative meetings in the galley, and the stewardesses wanted to kill him. They're trying to work around Vince McMahon trying to have a creative meeting in the galley of the plane. It was awful. It was awful, Coach.
plane to whoever, like when cell phones worked on a plane, communication on a plane, because that used to be the sacred time, right? You'd be up in the air and then you turn your phone off, nobody could bother you. But then on private jets, you could call, you could fax, you could text. Now you're working nonstop through. And I was like, this
It
sucks. This
sucks.
sucks. Right. So I'm fascinated by these topics and maybe more than I should be, but I want to know if T. Kelsey is flying on a jet that T Swift owns, or do they buy hours in NetJets or Wheels Up or one of those? I have a feeling she has her own plane.
I would think so.
Would
I
you? Would
would
you think
think at
so?
this point. I would think at this point. Yeah. Even though, listen, bro, the Swifties didn't go out there and get Kamala over, Coach. What about that? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Flip floppers. Travis Kelsey's brother, Jason Kelsey, wears flip flops all the time. And this week, at the beginning of the Kelsey's podcast, which they're getting $100 million for, he had to apologize for the altercation at Penn
Right.
State
Yes.
because somebody called his brother a word that I won't even say because I hate it so very much.
Right.
But it all circled back to Travis and Taylor. And why are you walking into the stadium without security anyway? Was my
Right.
question.
Yeah.
Those days are gone. You
Yeah.
can't do that anymore. You
Yeah.
got to be in a golf cart through the tunnel somewhere, but you can't be walking with the crowd. You're
Yeah.
no longer the everyman. Am I wrong on that?
Coach, you want to hear a great story?
Always.
I'm gonna match your Johnny U story and up you one. Coach, you'll remember this. I grew up on Long Island
Yes.
in the mid 70s. Okay. I was a huge New York Net fan. ABA. I was a
Wow.
big ABA guy, huge New York Net fan. You know, they played their home games at the Nassau Coliseum.
You bet.
And
You
Coach,
bet.
they used to play. They used to play every Sunday afternoon. And my grandparents lived in West Hempstead. I used to have my parents drop me off by myself on Sunday afternoons to go watch the Nets play. So, Coach, I'll never forget this true story. You talk about Johnny U, Coach. I may have to up you one, Coach. Coach, I'm 75, Coach. I'm about 14 years old. Okay, 14, 15, 14, probably 14. Coach, it's the ABA. You know, this isn't the NBA. You know, it was this, it was, you know, it was the Bloodline B team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pennies on the dollar.
But Coach, there was always a handful of us waiting for hours, autographs after the game. waiting. Back then, I don't know, Coach, if you remember these names, the great Larry Keenan and Billy Pauls and Brian Taylor and John
Oof,
Williamson. And oh my God,
going back.
yeah. So, Coach, I'm waiting for one person. I'm waiting for the doctor.
The doctor, baby.
I'm waiting for the
Come
doctor.
on.
Bro, everyone leaves, but there's maybe 3 people left. They're assuming he went through the back entrance, whatever they're assuming. I'm 14 years old. I'm waiting for the doctor. Coach, here we go. You remember the afro out to here, Coach?
Hell yes.
The sunglasses, full length fur coat.
Oh my God.
Here comes the doctor. And doctor's in a hurry. So doctor's signing. I'm like, Dr. Jake, I get you real quick. Bro, this is how it was back then. This is how this Nassau Coliseum. Doctor. Yeah, kid, I'm in a hurry. Ready, Coach? Walk me to my car.
Stop it. No, he did not.
Me and Dr. J, the 2 of us. I walk him to his car, Coach, as he's signing an autograph for 14. Can you, I was doing a show the other day. I think it was with Stevie Ray. People don't understand this, Coach. The players used to live in the neighborhood.
It was so different.
Willie Mays would play stickball with the kids on the streets of New York. My father was a big Giant fan of Polo Grounds. He tells me the players used to live in his building.
They couldn't afford to have the big houses back then.
Nah, bro, they were in the community. They lived with the people. They played with the kids. And that's why Dr. J, kid, come with me. Like, people can't imagine that today. With these players and what they're getting paid and security and oh my gosh, Coach.
The only thing that sucks about that story is that was before instant cameras or cell phone.
Oh yeah.
So when you
Coach.
killed to have a picture of that,
oh God,
or a video
yeah.
of you just walking alongside the doctor.
Oh my gosh, Coach.
Oh, I'm so jealous, but I'm so like, oh man, I wish you had that picture today.
Yeah.
Oh, those were the times.
I remember when I used to go to every Met Giant game at Shea Stadium, and Willie would drive his car, bro, pink Cadillac, say hey kid on the license plate. Would park it in the players lot, and here come Willie out of the. Oh my! It'll never be like that, Coach.
It'll never be like that.
We got to stop. What's
It'll
next, Coach?
It'll never.
Stop.
No, this is way more entertaining than breaking down
Coach.
the Broncos team that's going to get beat by 30 to the Chiefs. But we tell all these stories to say there are distractions, and with the Chiefs right now, and this is the thing. I feel like the more I complain about Travis Kelce, so I need to keep doing it. He's playing better. He had 14 catches against the Bucs, 100 yards. He was there, and what's that averaging? Less than 10 yards a catch, but he got really important catches. So he seemed a little bit down during the podcast. Is the reason I bring it up, because his brother, ESPN, made him do it. Then he did it on the podcast. He's like, hopefully we can all move along from this. And you said back in the day, you're walking. Travis Kelce just bought a new $7 million mansion with gates around it because of who he's dating, the Booth thing, T Swift.
Yeah.
She looked a little bit down at the game on Monday night too. Yeah. So now we're back home this week. It's against the Broncos. It should be a get right spot. But the Chiefs seem to play better, Vince, when they have more distractions. It's a weird thing. But why do you think that is? Why are they able to do that?
Coach, it's funny because, I equate this to like a lot of wrestlers. I equate this to a lot of people. Coach, some people just need drama in their life. I am trying to have a drama-free life, and I'm trying to get away from, just all the chaos. Some people need that in their life. When I was younger, I needed it. When I was younger, I needed chaos. I needed stuff happening around me. There are just some personalities that, they just thrive when there's drama going on.
It's so funny because I think most people who think they know you think, because you're the most honest person I've ever worked with. And you go through stretches where there's good stuff, stretches where there's bad stuff. But I think people think that you want them to be upset with you, or you're wanting to get a reaction, or you do way too many shows, way too much content for you to even care
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff. We
Yeah.
just like discussing it and giving our expertise. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And by the way, on the wrestling side of things, that if you haven't watched us lately, we are making the headlines.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that a little bit coming up on Backstage Pass. If you're not a subscriber yet, I encourage you to do so. So Vince, real quick, and we'll recap these here in a few minutes. But right now, the current number. Where in the world is this game at? Oh, all right. The Chiefs -8. I'm a little bit surprised that they are favored by less this week than they were last Monday against the Bucks, who I think are a better team, but the Broncos beat the Bucks earlier this year. It's a fascinating to me how these lines are made. But
Yeah.
I would like the Chiefs favored by 8, even though they're not a team that covers a lot.
Yeah, coach, and I can't, like again, I'm looking at this line, and I'm not a Broncos guy, but again, what has been working for me is, my gosh, the Chiefs every week seem to be winning by less than 7
Mhm.
every single week, and I can't go against that grain. So especially with the 8 points, which I really really love, because they win by a touchdown, I win. I'm gonna stick with this, man. I'm gonna go with the Broncos and take the points.
Yeah, I agree with, as much as I hate it. And somebody said, "Coach, the Chiefs, they've been covering a lot this year." Notice what Vince just said, less than 7. A lot of the games this year, because they lost guys and they had injuries,
Yeah,
have been, the spread's been less than 5, less than
yeah,
4.
yeah.
Yeah, they're covering that, but they're not winning by 7 or 8 or 9
No,
points a
no.
lot.
Yeah,
So I think if I was to play this game, it would be either a team total with the Chiefs, or I would buy the full point down to 7, which is very expensive, but it's less expensive than losing the entire bet if they
right.
win by 7. So
Yeah,
there's that. All right, last game, and it's Sunday Night Football. And it's, to me, the best team in football right now is the Detroit Lions. They're 7-1. They're scoring a ton of points. It doesn't matter. They're playing in the rain, in a dome, on the road. They are fantastic. And they've got a head coach that, if he can figure out how to be a game manager, I would follow him to the ends of the earth in Dan Campbell. Texans are stubbing their toe. They were 6-1. They've lost a couple in a row. Detroit on the road. And this is fascinating, Vince. When you're laying 3.5, total 48.5, it continues to move away from home. That's when the books really start to respect you. When you give this many against a team that's a playoff team that's 6-3, does the number surprise you?
it doesn't surprise me, because the Lions are just playing so well, coach. I mean, they're just playing so well, and that's why, like, I'm giving a 3.5 points. I think they're going to win this game by at least a touchdown. They are on such a roll, and like you said, I was very impressed with Texas early on in the year, but the
Mhm.
last couple of weeks, man,
Running for their life. CJ Stroud's running for his life right now.
yeah, yeah,
And
coach, I
as
agree.
we look at it, I mean, it's kind of ugly. So last week, the Jets beat them 21-13. And by the way, watching Aaron Rodgers celebrate one win when you're now
I
3 and
know.
whatever, it's embarrassing.
I
Stop it,
hate
Aaron.
that.
Let's
Yeah.
stop.
I
So
hate,
they
yeah, coach. I hate when a team's getting their butt kicked, and they're losing 31-10, and then they make it 31-17 with 2 minutes left, and they're celebrating in the end zone. That drives me nuts, coach.
What about the young wide receiver when the team's down by 30? I saw it last week. I think it was the Broncos game, and they get a first down. They stand up and they do the.
Uh,
I'm like, you're down 28. All
coach,
you did was get 12 yards and a first down.
Coach, if my team loses and I see somebody smiling on the sideline, I lose it. I lose it if they're smiling on the sideline.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Or if you're Anthony Richardson of the Colts going, hey, get me, get me. He got shredded this week. I was glad I wasn't the only one. Every show was making fun of this dude. You're a quarterback and you're asking out of the game because you're tired, because you scrambled one time. I've never heard of such a thing. Never heard of such a thing. All right, let's recap our picks real quick. Thursday night football tonight, you're going with the Ravens, and you're
Yes.
going to give the 6, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right, Steelers Commanders, you like the under?
Yes.
Yep. and I like the Commanders laying the 2.5. Broncos Chiefs. You're taking the Broncos plus the 8.
Yes.
I'm going to buy the point down to 7, probably minus 140, depending on your book. And then the Lions and the Texans 3.5. We both agree Lions laying the 3.5.
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. Very good. Take those picks. You remember how hot my man Vince has been. So let's get it going again this week, week number 10 in the National Football League. All right, this is kind of a tale of two shows. You can watch this front page of Sportskeeda all over the YouTube page, but we have plenty more wrestling content over at Backstage Pass. We encourage you to subscribe because we talk about a lot of topics over there. So have a great week. Enjoy the football, and continued support is appreciated of the Coach and Bro Show.